apologize for that little botch at the beginning with the intro. I thought at first maybe I hit it too early. That's why I went back and forth like I did, but we did not. Guys, what is going on? How y'all doing this Tuesday evening? This is the Club of the Man 1993, and we are here live to do the last of the, weekly show catch-ups I need to do. Really, the only thing left after this to do is a catch-up on the pay-per-views. So we can maybe start doing those this week. We'll see. Who knows what's going on, because of everything going on around the world right now. But, so till then, though, I am here to talk about what's been going on with NXT UK from the past 7 months, I believe it is. 7-8 months it has been since I last did an NXT UK live review. Now, obviously, when I first came back to YouTube a couple weeks ago, I did mention that, obviously some things have changed. I'm not really watching every show weekly all the time. But obviously, since I'm a lot busier now, I work a full-time job, I have other things going on in life that I'm trying to do, I can't watch every single show all the time live. So obviously, I've had to cut back a little bit. Of course, the only show that I really don't watch anymore is 205 Live. I haven't watched 205 Live since the Cruiserweight started wrestling on NXT. And basically, since most of them are showing up on NXT anyways, what's the point of watching them on 205 Live? It's like watching an episode of Main Event to me. The other one that I've cut back on is NXT UK. Now, I haven't missed an episode of NXT UK. But my thing is now is what I do is I take like a weekend or so and just like watch a bunch of episodes of NXT UK at once. So that's kind of what's going to be for now. It's going to be more so like, I don't review NXT UK every single week, but like maybe like one review a month to recap what's been going on in NXT UK. Because despite the fact that this show is kind of on like the back burner, as I always mention, like, there's just so much other content. Who's going to want to set the time to be able to watch, a bunch of wrestling shows, and unfortunately NXT UK falls on like that back burner. But the thing is, I don't mind NXT UK. I actually do somewhat enjoy it. And the thing is, because, yes, there's been some talents who have moved from NXT UK to NXT a little bit, like here and there. Like, we've seen Imperium appear here and there. Kaylee Rae has appeared once or twice. Of course, Rhea Ripley and Pete Dunne have made a transition going full-time. It looks like the grizzled young veterans are making a transition going full-time more on NXT right now. Once the Bloom, we'll see Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch show up on NXT UK, but it's not like, like the whole roster is always moving over to NXT. So there's still a bunch of fresh talent that I do like in NXT UK that, not everyone's lighting the world on fire to me, but it still is, something different to watch here and there, which is why I want to continue to review NXT UK on this channel. Now, of course, down the line, I've heard rumors that WWE is trying to do an NXT Japan. I really think that's kind of pushing it for me, to be honest. I mean, I don't really know too many Japan stars, like, at least the United Kingdom Championship tournaments always allow me to kind of get to know some of these UK stars, which definitely drew interest for me, which is why, of course, I wanted to watch NXT UK when it came out. But, unfortunately, again, it's not lighting the world on fire to me as much as, like, NXT is, or, AEW, or, it's not as addicting as, like, Raw and SmackDown, but it's still a nice short little hour show to put on, watch a bunch of here and there and see some fresh talents. And again, I don't want to knock them for sure, but this is how it's going to be from now on. Now, after tonight's review, as of now, depending on what's going on with the coronavirus, as of now, this is probably going to be the last one I review of NXT UK until probably the go-home show for UK TakeOver Dublin next month. I'm going to try to, again, keep these reviews monthly, maybe do like one a month. Again, just take a weekend, like once a month, and just watch all the NXT. I mean, heck, if I get time, maybe I'll watch the episode during the week, but I'm not going to like review them like weekly like I used to. But like I said before, I still want to keep up with NXT UK and go from there. But yeah, so that's basically like where I stand as far as NXT UK right now. Again, it's not been that bad. I mean, it's not lighting the world on fire to me, but still intrigues me. I definitely can say I appreciate a lot of the talent, some of the upcoming talent, some of the established talent as well. And we'll talk about that as I kind of just, recap, some stuff that's happened with this show over the past 7 months since I've been gone from YouTube. So first, I have the live chat. I see Tyler's in the live chat. What's up, buddy? This should have been our moment last night, but no, this virus screwed us over. Unfortunately, yes, as we were supposed to go to Raw last night, and did not happen. I was definitely bummed and felt disappointed. Probably felt the same way that Seth Rollins did when he was watching WrestleMania 32. I'm like, I should have been there. It's just hard to watch. It's in front of a lot. There's no one there to show the energy for these moments. That even though not everything's great, obviously these wrestlers are working hard to make these moments matter. And unfortunately, we don't have the audience to back it up and give it the reactions that they deserve. Talking to a TV screen is just not really cutting it right now for sure. 205 Live should be canceled. Completely agree. And NXT and NXT UK are brands. Yes, they are kind of treated as combined together and whatnot, but obviously there's two separate shows. But yeah, thank you for stuff in the live chat, Tyler. Thank you for joining me live as always. So again, let's just talk about a few topics here. I'm not going to be here too long, and just see what we got. So I do think the divisions have established some good talent. One that I'll talk about first again is the tag team division. The thing about NXT UK is about their tag team divisions is they basically took tag teams and made them from scratch, most of them. Like they had, it was basically, oh, these belts are coming out, pick a partner and gel with them basically. So we've had guys like Flash, Morgan Webster, and Mark Andrews become a pretty solid tag team. We already had, well, first it was just the Coffee Brothers, Joe and Mark, but then Wolfgang joined them, they became a trio, they became Gallus, which we'll talk about them in a little bit, as they are currently your NXT UK Tag Team Champions. Amir Jordan, Kenny Williams, they're a fun little tag team. Recently, we've seen Ashton Smith, who I've always been very interested in, but he hasn't really, he hasn't gotten over that hump yet as far as, being an established star. He's still kind of being treated as, I'm not going to say a jobber, but he's still someone that's more so out there to take the pins. And he's been teamed up with Oliver Carter. Of course, we have Imperium's Marcel Barthel and Fabian Eichner, who I'm always praising. I love that team of Marcel Barthel and Fabian Eichner. They are gelling really good. Still think they should be tag champions by now, but we'll get to that, of course, in a little bit. Gosh, who else was there? There's a couple of... Oh, of course, even though they're kind of transitioning to full-time over in NXT, Liverpool's number one, Zach Gibson and James Drake, even though I still feel this tag team is only just to give Zach Gibson something to do, because it's obvious he's a great old school classic heel that I do think Triple H is super high on him right now. But unfortunately, there really isn't any other options for him right now. Unless he's in NXT, he'll wrestle for the North American Championship or whatnot, or maybe he'll wrestle for the NXT Championship further down the line. I don't know, but I definitely think, even though I think it's worked out with him and James Drake, I still think he's more meant to be a single star for sure. They have this team called Pretty Deadly that have been kind of, I thought they were just a jobber team, but they recently had a match where they're kind of being treated like they're going to be, an actual tag team, but not too crazy about them right now. But I gotta say, the tag team division has been pretty well established. Still think the tag titles are on the wrong team, though. We'll talk about that again shortly. But I gotta say, just kind of give them the rub. Oh, of course, there is Mustache Mountain, also Trent Seven and Tyler Bate. Two of the three founding fathers of NXT UK. We'll talk about them in a separate topic a little bit later on. But this is run down the tag team division. We've had 3 different tag champions since I last left. Of course, the first ever NXT UK Tag Team Champions were the Grizzled Young Veterans, Gibson and Drake. They dropped the titles at NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff to Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews, which I thought was a great move for sure, especially with them being, in Wales, and that's Mark Andrews' home country. It didn't last long, though, as they did drop them to Gallus. I think in sometime in October, I believe it was, they dropped them to Gallus. Mark Coffey and Wolfgang are the tag team champions currently. But that's basically, let's call it the tag team division. We also have a slight update to the to Walter's UK Championship. Now, because originally it was called the WWE United Kingdom Championship, but I think because it's strictly NXT, of course, now since it has its own brand. It's basically the same title, except I think the red's a little bit darker, and it says NXT on it instead of WWE for the United Kingdom Championship. That was revealed shortly after NXT TakeOver Blackpool 2, when Walter had successfully retained his championship against Joe Coffey in that match. One of the biggest feuds I think that happened most of the time while I was gone is the two big heel stables, Imperium and Gallus. That feud took place mostly in the fall, with it being like a 4-man stable against a 3-man stable. They kind of added Ilya Dragunov into the picture, which Triple H is very, very high on Dragunov. I'm still betting on him to be the one to dethrone Walter. I really think it's going to happen. Just not sure when, though, because the next UK takeover again is in Dublin next month, and they're having Finn Balor teasing a feud with Walter. I think they're probably going to have Walter and Finn Balor in Dublin, and they're probably going to have Jordan Devlin, who we'll talk about shortly also, who is the Cruiserweight Champion, which I think he deserves that. We'll talk about him, of course, in a little bit as well. So we're definitely going to get those two defending their belts. Those two appearing on the show in April when it goes to Dublin. This Gallus and Imperium feud was still weird because I don't think they ever fully turned Gallus face. Even now, I still feel like they're treating them more so as tweeners, because they still had like the heelish side to them, even though Ilya Dragunov kind of teamed up with them. That way, it'd be like a 4-on-4 feud basically. They had Alexander Wolf feuding with Ilya Dragunov. I feel like they do have a history, I think, for what I remember from the story. They did have a nice no DQ match like a week or two before TakeOver Blackpool 2, I thought. Of course, Barthel and Eichner and Coffey and Wolfgang, Mark Coffey and Wolfgang were part of a Fatal 4-Way ladder match at TakeOver Blackpool 2, where I really felt Imperium should have won the tag titles. I'm sorry. I mean, the thing about this feud, though, is that the thing is I still don't feel Walter needs a heel stable. Like, why? Like he's basically Brock. Well, except the fact that he's actually there all the time. Wrestling wise, he basically is NXT UK's Brock Lesnar. The big man who's tough to beat. He's brutal. He's physical. He is a legitimate, tough, match. Although he's put on good matches with the likes of Travis Banks. At the pay-per-views, he had a great match with Tyler Bate back in Cardiff, Blackpool 2. Not as good as the match with Bate, but still a good match with Joe Coffey. He recently had a match with Dave Mastiff, and I'm very looking forward to seeing what he'll do with Finn Balor when they have their match. But I still, the idea of having a heel stable, UK already had like a big heel stable developed in Gallus, and I feel with Imperium kind of forming. Once again, I love the talent involved. Alexander Wolf is definitely very underrated. Was very underappreciated. I felt kind of overlooked when he was with Sanity. Again, Barthel and Eichner are an awesome tag team. I can't keep praising that team. I love that team. And Walter's awesome too. But once again, why does Walter need a heel stable? And I feel like, they kind of overshadowed Gallus. And I just feel like, them as tag champions, okay, it had to happen, but I feel like, the ball's really not in their court. And I feel like Imperium's the one that really should have the tag titles on them right now. The feud was not bad, but to me, it was just it was still odd because none of them, they're both awesome teams, but I feel like they didn't really allow one of them to become a little more likable than the other one, if you know what I mean. Because what happened was, with Dragunov kind of involved with Gallus, he got involved in the main event at Blackpool, and he accidentally costed Joe Coffey the match because he injured his knee, and then Gallus kind of attacked on Dragunov, and he recently had a match with Joe Coffey, and Dragunov beat Coffey. After the match, Joe Coffey's like, okay, you paid your dues, we're good. But then recently, they're kind of still being the heels, picking on Dave Mastiff and their longtime rivals Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews. So it's very back and forth. So I'm not following along. Am I supposed to be liking these guys? Am I supposed to be hating these guys still? I don't know. I feel like the whole point of them kind of just faded once Imperium came around. Obviously, we had to have a feud with Imperium and Gallus, but sometimes doing a heel on heel feud still seems a little bit weird. Wasn't a wreck, but I wouldn't say it was one of the strongest feuds I've really seen between those two. But it is what it is, and I'll give it what it is. But that's what I got for that. Tyler's things in the live chat to say WWE is on lockdown. Everywhere is on lockdown right now, basically. TLC 2014 was stupid. I agree. And he also says Clash of Champions 2019 was his pick for the worst pay-per-view of 2019. It was an average show, I thought. My still personal pick to me for the worst pay-per-view of the year last year was Hell in a Cell. But we'll talk about that whenever I do review the pay-per-views to catch up with those. As the SummerSlam review will definitely be first. So we got that. I already talked about Ilya Dragunov. The women's division, we have, the big upcoming star right now who just recently debuted is Iofi Valkyrie, if I'm pronouncing her name right. She's pretty good. I'm definitely looking forward to her. But, we've had, Isla Dawn, Zaya Brookside. Who else is there besides the three that I mainly want to talk about? Of course, Ginny and Jazzy Gabbert, who was a duo for a while, but recently they randomly just split them up, and I've heard rumors that Jazzy may be done with the company. I'm not sure that's true, so I'm not sure what's next for Ginny. She hasn't really been used at all ever since they split those two up, right after TakeOver, Blackpool 2, they split them up. A couple others, but the three that stand out to me the most right now, of course, in the women's division are Piper Niven, who, she's kind of been she had her feud with Rhea Ripley, which had never had a rubber match, but basically it was kind of like a passing the torch on thing whenever Rhea was done in NXT UK and moved on to NXT. Of course, Toni Storm, the former UK Women's Champion, and Kaylee Rae. Now, here's the thing about Kaylee Rae. Just recently, while watching NXT UK, the last couple episodes I saw, I really felt she was starting to hit that high note I've been waiting for her to hit. Based off of, especially that I Quit match she had with Toni Storm recently. That was an awesome match. And that was, I felt, the match that I'm like, okay, now I get Kaylee right now. Because for a while, I just was not getting her. I was fine with her contending for the women's title back in, last summer. I didn't think she was ready to take the women's title yet, though. I personally still think Toni Storm should have had a longer reign. I feel like if there was anyone that was meant to, carry on this division for a good long period of time, it was Toni Storm. I mean, yes, she got 8 months out of it, awesome, but I still feel like she should have had it even longer. I felt, but I think right now things are starting to click more. I felt for Kaylee Rae, because when she won the Women's Battle Royale, she said she wanted to use her opportunity at TakeOver Cardiff, but until then she's going to make Tony's life a living hell. And to me, I felt she didn't really hit that high note right away. Other than the fact that 2 weeks before TakeOver, she basically just exposed Toni Storm, saying that she really has nothing else besides this. And then when she took the title off of Toni in a solid match at TakeOver Cardiff, Toni disappeared for a while. And this whole idea of Toni not really having much kind of started to set in a little bit more. Piper Niven, of course, kind of got involved whenever she started getting, more momentum, and she wanted a chance for Kaylee Rae's title. But, of course, Toni Storm came back, and she wanted her rematch, and she also wanted, just to get a piece of Kaylee Rae for the emotional state she sent her in. But obviously Piper Niven's earned the opportunity, too, so that caused tension between Toni Storm and Piper Niven. So the match was made a triple threat for TakeOver Blackpool 2. Not bad, but felt like it had a very uneventful ending to it, I felt, the way Kaylee Rae won. But after that, Toni Storm still had an obsession of just getting her hands on Kaylee Rae. And Kaylee Rae, of course, still trying to expose her, said, I'll give you one more chance. An I Quit match, which happened back on March the 5th this year. But if Toni would lose, she would crap. I forgot what I was saying now. Oh yeah, she would not be able to challenge for the UK Championship while Kaylee Rae was still champion. And most of that match, I mean, Toni got offense in, but most of it was a one-sided match, as we had Kaylee Rae dominate Toni Storm most of it, and really just made you feel for Toni. But ever since Toni lost at TakeOver Blackpool 2, you can definitely tell the heel turn is coming. By the way she was built up for the Worlds Collide match she had with Rhea Ripley, and how basically, she's just sunk to this like huge obsession with just trying to rip that championship and get her revenge on Kaylee Rae for how basically she just exposed her. I mean, Kaylee Rae was once one of her best friends, and then Kaylee just happened to just obviously her career was much more important than their friendship, and just to get into the mind of Toni Storm, she basically just exposed her. And I felt in this I Quit match, she just played the role well in sending Toni down more of a deep, like depressed state. By, of course, again, she dominated her. Like, she tied her hand up in athletic tape. She even was smashing the chair around her, right up around her chest and whatnot constantly. It led to Piper Niven running down the ringside, begging Toni to knock some sense into her, to just showed us how pure evil Kaylee Rae can be. And again, that's a match where I'm I wasn't getting her at first, but now I'm getting her for sure, and I'm definitely digging her more, and I see more to her than I was for a while. So obviously, I feel the eventual plan is for Piper Niven to probably face Kaylee Rae at TakeOver Dublin. Maybe she'll win a championship, but that's when Toni Storm will go full heel and come right after Piper Niven, because as soon as Toni's able to challenge for the UK Women's title, you can bet your rear end that she's going to be just charging right after whoever it is and just grabbing that opportunity right off of her. Right off of whoever it is. I think that's when Toni will go full on heel, in my opinion. But that stuff with Kaylee Rae and Toni Storm, Piper was the last thing I wanted to talk about, but there's still other topics, so I kind of went through all the women's division. One thing I thought was kind of weak, so Cassius Ohno's been around in NXT UK, saying he's the greatest British wrestler ever. I'm not seeing much out of it. I mean, again, I thought maybe a year and a half ago he'd be going up to the main roster. To me, he's still just that scrappy veteran who's just, putting on good matches, but just putting people over. And I don't get why. And one of the weakest points I felt I saw from him was when he had this random feud with assistant general manager Sid Scala and had that British rounds match. Wasn't that impressed, to be honest. Okay, if he did it against someone like Dave Mastiff, or even if he did it with Walter, or to someone else more high caliber, okay, but the fact he did it with Sid Scala, I'm I remember watching the match and I kind of fell asleep. I wasn't really that impressed with it. Not really too thrilled with it. We had that. Jordan Devlin. Jordan Devlin is one of those people who I feel hit the highest note he could in NXT UK without winning a championship. I mean, he's had great matches with Walter, with Pete Dunne, with Travis Banks. I don't know if he's had a match with Noam Dar yet. I don't think so. Who also has been on just been an annoying heel. Well, a better heel than he was when he first was on 205 Live. But obviously he's meant to come across as annoying, and it works out pretty good. With Jordan Devlin, obviously, when he was saying that he's not getting opportunities for the big opportunities for the UK title and whatnot, he had a good reason to. One match that stands out to me was from this past fall. He actually had a match with Dave Mastiff, and he won the match. And I felt like that was his highest point I felt so far in the UK. He had a great match though with Tyler Bate at TakeOver Blackpool 2. Probably my match of the night on that show. But obviously, he needed something, and there was no mid-card championship. So at Worlds Collide, he was in a fatal four-way for the Cruiserweight Championship. It was him, Travis Banks, Angel Garza, and Swerve, I think, Isaiah Swerve Scott. Yeah, um, great match for sure, and he won the match. So he's always been spending a little bit more time in NXT since, but he recently came back to NXT UK, especially with the build to Dublin, which he's going to be defending in his hometown of Dublin, his home country of Dublin, Ireland. But I feel like, of course, now with him being back, at the championship, he's not as he doesn't care as much about wrestling. As long as he has a championship, that's all he cares about because he wants to be considered the best, and he basically is the best. He is going to have a match, I think, this week, coming week, or next week, defend the Cruiserweight Championship against Travis Banks. But we'll see who ends up challenging him, though, in Dublin, for sure. But I definitely it gave him something more to do, as he definitely deserves it. I definitely been a huge Jordan Devlin fan since the first UK Championship tournament. So him being Cruiserweight Champion is excellent for me. Mustache Mountain. Mustache Mountain, I feel like, has kind of transitioned their roles a little bit. They're still, babyface is a level tag team, but I feel like both Seven and Bate, especially Tyler Bate, have been kind of playing these roles where it's like they're taking, some of the new people under their wing. Mostly, Tyler Bate has been kind of been a mentor to a kid, who I think is doing pretty good. They recently just had a match against each other, like a teacher versus student match. Recently on the UK, which I thought was a really good match. Trent Seven, I forgot who he had, but that trend for Trent Seven, though, with him being a mentor, kind of died away because he did have a feud going to take over Blackpool 2, and after Blackpool 2 also with someone else who I've always been pretty high on is Eddie Dennis. I really dig this idea of how Eddie Dennis was in education. He was a headmaster, but he obviously always envied his friends, Pete Dunne, Mark Andrews, Trent Seven, all of them, for getting to what he wanted to be, and that was a professional wrestler. And then, of course, I was digging that, and I thought maybe he'd be the one to dethrone Pete Dunne, but he lost to Dave Bassett in a no DQ match, the first Blackpool takeover, and then he was out with an injury for about 8 months. So he came back, and the first person he targeted was Trent Seven. They had a decent match. It wasn't really that great of a match at Takeover Blackpool 2, but then they had, a few weeks later, they had a four corners street fight. Basically, the turnbuckles were exposed, and it was a street fight, basically, with him and Trent Seven. I thought it was a good match there. But Tyler Bate especially, I think, has transitioned more into that role. I still think one of them, either Seven or Bate, is going to turn heel sometime this year. I thought maybe that would be the case. Bate would turn heel and set up a feud for a Dublin with a kid or something. But I don't think that's going to be happening right now. But I think at some point, one of those two is going to have to turn heel for something fresh, I feel like. I'm still not opposed to them being the UK Tag Team Champions at one point. I feel it should happen. I mean, they had a brief run with the NXT tag titles, but, again, I think they deserve also to be, having the titles of the brand they're the founding fathers of, if you know what I mean. We got that. Eddie Dennis, we talked about him as well. The only thing I want to mention, too, is I definitely, if there's one upcoming star in the UK that I am pretty interested in, of course, besides that, Aofi Alarki, whatnot, where her name is, that's the women's star who's still, new and upcoming that I'm high on. I don't know what it is. I am very interested in Ridge Holland. He kind of walks out wearing that Sherlock Holmes hat, kind of has a mystery gimmick to him and whatnot. I think that he is going to be a big star. I am very interested in see what he can do for sure. I mean, he hasn't really had any other matches against guys like Saxon Huxley or Tyson T-Bone or people like that. But he's definitely someone I'm watching for sure. And I think he has a lot of potential as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it for right now. Again, I'm gonna kind of recap NXT UK monthly. Again, the next time you'll probably see me review NXT UK is after the Go Home edition of NXT UK for Takeover Dublin. Again, that is if that show is still happening, depending on what's going on with the coronavirus right now and whatnot. But yeah, that's pretty much it here, guys. Tyler just had one thing to lie. TLC 2014 he meant was stupid. Oh, that was, yeah. This past year's TLC also I thought was pretty crappy. It was pretty boring for sure. But again, we'll talk about those some other time. But but yeah, guys, thank you for joining me live, Tyler. Again, I'm not going to be giving grades anymore for NXT UK either, also because I'm not going to be watching, doing weekly shows one by one. But I am going to be reviewing these monthly. But again, if you get time, I definitely try to recommend checking out NXT UK. It's not going to be blowing your socks off that much, but I still think, it's an interesting show. There's a lot of good talent on there for sure. Guys that I would like to see, face, people like on Raw or SmackDown or NXT for sure. Give them a shot for sure. You don't have to watch them every single week, but it's definitely worth checking out. I would have to say. But that's gonna do it here, guys. Again, what have your thoughts been on NXT UK as well? Who are some of the stars you enjoy as well? Do you like to watch NXT UK? Do you think it's a waste of time? So let me know, guys. Leave that down in the comment section below. And there's always slap a like on the video. Subscribe or crack on my channel. Follow me on Twitter at DemandAir93. And with that, guys, I'm checking out. I will see you guys all later. Whenever my next review would be, probably the AEW Dynamite review, or maybe I'll do my first pay-per-view review to catch up, which will be SummerSlam 2019. But that will be coming soon. So that's it, guys. Till then, I'm checking out. This is the Club of the Man 1993. Peace out, everybody.